So for the Los Angeles Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, they were coming off a heartbreaking ending to their season prior to 2022, and they were looking to improve on that, trying to fix the problem of why their season in 2021 ended the way it did. So their offseason consisted of defensive investments, and they were hoping that those investments were the key to helping Justin Herbert finally make the playoffs in his third-year career. So in 2022, you got another efficient year from quarterback Justin Herbert. You know, despite all the injuries that were piling on the offensive line and at receiver, he was still able to make it work, in spite of the injuries around the offense. Even he himself also got hurt, but he managed to play through it. But all of those defensive investments that they made made the defensive liability, either due to injuries or pretty much poor play. But nonetheless, the Chargers were finally able to make the playoffs with Justin Herbert. And yeah, it still wasn't enough. It still wasn't enough because guess what happened the game prior to their first playoff game? We all remember that Week 18 game. They were in Denver, and then head coach Brandon Staley pulled some dumbassery. He pulled some dumbassery, played all the starters well deep into the game, and yeah, a couple of key players get injured, and then they're not available to play in the playoff game in Jacksonville against the all-elite Jacksonville Jaguars. And, you know, they were up 28-0 in that game, by the way. And then guess what happened next? LA Clippers, Clipper up, ha, like the Power Rangers when they're choking against an evil villain. So once again, they found a way to Clipper it up, ha, when it mattered most for the second straight season. And only this time, it was on a big national stage. That is the playoffs. And what's even more surprising with the way they Clippered up is that they didn't fire Brandon Staley afterwards. Like, how do you not do that? It's one thing that you go wire to wire against the Raiders in like the last game of the season with the playoff spot on the line. It's another thing that you're up 28-0 in the actual playoffs itself, and you choke it all away. You Clipper it all away to the all elite Jaguars. Yes, all elite, you know, AEW. If you don't get the reference. But anyway, the point being is, why didn't they fire Brandon Staley for 2 straight choke jobs to end their season? Like, I don't get it. Like, what did they find in him? Like, it literally didn't make any sense. It really didn't. But nonetheless, your top goal for 2023, if you're the LA Clip Chargers, is to make the playoffs again without clippering. You have to make a playoff. You have to win a playoff game, and hopefully from there, you make a deep run. Especially considering that you don't have any more time to waste with Justin Herbert's prime and under his rookie contract, because, you know, I think it's after this season that, you know, he has a contract extension, and at some point you're gonna have to start considering paying him the big bucks, because he's definitely worth those big bucks. So you gotta start getting some positive momentum aside from Justin Herbert. Get him some actual help, especially on the coaching side, man. So looking at some of their offseason priorities, looking at the Chargers, they had to address the run defense because just like in 2021, it wasn't great. I thought they would have addressed that in 2022. And, you know, I thought they did. But I guess all the injuries were just too much to overcome. So they had to go and get some interior defensive tackles. I also thought they could use a safety to pair with Derwin James. And looking at some of their offseason moves, it's kind of a good thing that, you know, it's pretty quiet for them. But at the same time, they didn't lose anyone of note. So that's always a good thing for them. So the only notable losses that they incurred were linebacker Drew Tranquill to the Kansas City Chiefs, safety Nazir Adderley he retired, and then edge rusher Christian Covington to the Lions. So not too many notable losses here and there. They re-signed a couple of people, mainly their special teams unit, J.K. Scott, the punter, and then their breakout kicker, Cameron Dicker, the kicker. Yeah, that nickname. That was like one of the best nicknames they had in 2022. And then backup tight end Donald Parham. And then the only free agency addition that they made was linebacker Eric Kendricks from the Minnesota Vikings to replace Tranquil. Pretty solid one. And then they mainly did their dirty work in the draft. And I think this is where they did, they made the best out of it. They added 2 receivers by the name of Quentin Johnson from TCU, and then another receiver from TCU, Darius Davis. And then on the defensive side, they added linebacker Diane Henley from Washington State, and then edge rusher Tuli Polodu from USC. Again, I apologize for my mispronunciation and my lack of trying to pronounce names correctly. And then they also got a swing offensive lineman by the name of Jordan McFadden from Clemson, so he could pretty much play guard and tackle. So for the Chargers, I kind of like what they did here, stocking up for need for depth in the draft, because they really couldn't do much in free agency. So, Justin Herbert made the most out of his receiving core without Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, who were out for a large chunk of the season for different reasons with injury. And they also lost Jalen Guyen for the majority of the season with injury as well. He was on IR. So they had to go and get stock up the receiving room, because not only did they lose Jalen Guyen as well, they also lost a couple other reserve receivers in free agency. So I like what they did here, stocking up receiver. Hopefully they pan out. And Quentin Johnson, they drafted him in the first round to pair with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and perhaps Jalen Guyen too. So not bad. So, and especially considering that if Keenan Allen and Mike Williams do get injured, maybe Johnson and Davis step up to the plate. So the Chargers receiving room, not looking too bad right now. As for the defensive depth, I mean, you already have a lot of quality players there, but adding more is not always a bad thing. So looking at some of their potential key games in 2023, actually it's a little bit earlier. No, actually not earlier, but later. You look at your Week 4 game against the Las Vegas Raiders. You don't know who's going to be the quarterback by then, but what is important is that you have to win your divisional games to keep up, not just with everybody in the AFC West, not just everybody in the AFC, but especially the Kansas City Chiefs. That's your main target in not just 2023, but in general, because you were nearly there. You were nearly there in 2023. It's just like, I don't know what happened in 2022. It's just kind of cool. You just chargered again. But yeah, you want to continue to win your division games in 2023, and then you got a big game in Week 6 against the Dallas Cowboys. You can never underestimate Dak, and of course the defense. That's like a pretty relentless defensive line. And then Week 7 against the Kansas City on the road, playing the defending Super Bowl champions. These two teams always go the distance against each other, so I'm expecting fireworks. And then you go to New York 2 weeks later to play the Jets against Aaron Rodgers and that talented team on paper. And then Week 12, you host the Baltimore Ravens in what I feel like should be an interesting game against Lamar Jackson, and what I feel like should have more weapons around him by that even by that point. So should be an interesting game for that one. So some of my biggest questions entering the 2023 season for the LA Chargers is, can that receiving duo of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams stay healthy? I know they're not getting any younger, and I know they didn't really play a lot of games in the past season, but, for as older as they are, they do produce, they do still produce a good amount of production, momentum, and a lot of the offense for Justin Herbert. And, Jalen Hyatt's an X factor too, but the main receiving core is Allen and Mike Williams. But you never know. You never know with Quentin Johnson. He may be the breakout star for the Chargers in 2023. Maybe. And then, how's the secondary going to perform? Given they stay healthy for a full 5 games, because the secondary in 2022, it kind of struggled with injuries, especially considering that Asante Samuel was supposed to have J.C. Jackson on the opposite end, but then he struggled and then he got hurt. And then J.C. Jackson wasn't there for the rest of the season. So that opposite corner spot really struggled. But Asante Samuel, still performed very well. It's just a matter of, it wasn't great. So hopefully, they stay healthy. They stay healthy for past 5 games. So for the Chargers, the key for them is to not just get another good year from Justin Herbert. They got to stay healthy all around. And they need much better coaching from Brandon Staley. They can't get conservative. They have to keep pushing the pace. They got to keep pushing the ball. They got to keep scoring. Not this Clipper-esque one that we've been seeing the past 2 years. And even before that, before Brandon Staley became the head coach. I understand that they've been cursed with the curse of the Clippers, but there's no more time to waste with Justin Herbert's prime. He's young, and you also have to consider that he's due for his big fat contract that honestly he has deserved. He has earned at this point. Yeah, he hasn't won the big one yet, but he has done so much for the Chargers that he is due for one. So I do expect the Chargers to have nearly the same record as, if not the same record as they do in 2022, 10-7, maybe even better than that, 11-6. Because, Justin Herbert is going to, again, carry them once again. But it's more important that the Chargers help him too in 2023. They got to bolt up in 2023, not Clipper up. Ha!